our principal, Ms. Van Bloek, the staff, esteemed guests, parents, boys of the college, and most importantly, to the Matrics of 2019. This is your night, and I thank you for the privilege of speaking on your behalf. Honestly, I've never really struggled with speech writing. I've always enjoyed oral in class, and there's something about a captive audience that has always appealed to me. But this speech has been the most challenging thing I've ever had to write. When I started, I had no idea what I would say, who I would thank, and what stories were appropriate to tell. It was after many nights spent looking at a blank page that I realized I've been writing this speech for 6 years already. Since my first day at the college, every experience had been leading up to this moment. And it was at that point that the memories began to resurface. Grade 7, the night of the disastrous play performance. Our reenactment of Macbeth certainly raised a few eyebrows. No one could remember their lines, but somehow we made it work. Grade 8, struggling to stay awake in Mr. Usher's geography class, while Jarush and Chetty argued his way to distinction. Those cold nights spent practicing the Blaze War cry, or Mr. Carlson riding between classes on his golf cart. Quite soon, a trend appeared. None of these were experienced alone. Throughout every moment of my time here, the best things had always happened with the gentleman sitting in front of me, the Matrix. Gentlemen, we're the end of an era. I'm not sure how many of you remember just how crazy St. Charles was when we arrived. Tank and Joe felt rocks. Seniors walked on campus without school shoes, having lost them in a game of what are the odds. And some Thundercats spent more time outside the geography class than in it, searching for missing worksheets in a non-existent file. Malawi. Organisation has never been your strong point, and looking at you on Devon's room in Matric House is proof that, thankfully, some things will never change. But by far the craziest thing about school were the boys I shared my classes with, who never failed to entertain and ensured there was always something to distract you from how homesick you were. Things have definitely calmed down since those early days, but thankfully, we're all just as crazy as the day we arrived. On a detour through the gym on any given afternoon, one may catch a glimpse of Jason O'Bear and Garrett Fryer taking up all the space in the gym mirrors, or handing out free advice on what pre-workouts to use. And, on even more rare occasions, see Mr. Farwell doing legs. It's a surprise any learning has been accomplished by the Matrix in the last few years. And more often than not, the best stories come out of very specific classes. The most often, geography. Only Mr. Holcomb could find ways to turn his stories from Frisbee tour into the perfect geography case study, ensuring we always understood how their spectacular comeback in the knockout stages explained American immigration policies. I'll miss the intense discussions in the boarding establishment, which sprung up in the strangest places, on the concrete outside grade 11 house, or in whoever's dorm we happened to congregate in. These often lasted for hours and were full of laughs. And it was out of these conversations that many of the stories for the speech arose. I'm certain that we have contributed to more than a few headaches for both the staff and for the prefects placed in charge of us. This is a direct result of our tendency to test the boundaries, both in the classroom, and more especially in the boarding. One such test occurred in grade 9 at a term end. This was often the time when things got most rowdy in the boarding house. And on this particular evening, the idea came about to exact revenge on the prefects. I'm not sure who suggested it, but soon a number of grade 9s had entered the prefect rooms and proceeded to rearrange. Of course, things soon got out of hand, and the prefects didn't enjoy the joke as much as we may have expected them to. The resulting reaction saw the entire grade 9 house run screaming down the stairs and out the dorm, followed closely behind are red-in-the-face Hendrik Pretorius and Brendan Lawrence. Though we expected the chase to end, I soon found myself sprinting along Delawfield, followed closely behind by Cheese, Grady and Gurney, James House, and on his bicycle, JJ Ford. Hendrik, a dedicated rugby and water polo player, caught JJ on his bicycle. I'm not familiar with the events which followed. I didn't stay to find out. Shortly after, we were out of breath walking along Harren Road, and it was at this moment that an unnamed teacher pulled up in a blue Toyota Taz. Curious to know what exactly we were doing out half an hour after lights out. Thankfully, as we attempted to get our story straight, one of the grade 10s came to the rescue, informing Mr. Stripberger that we had been at the golf bar with him and that we were returning slightly late. So, I'm not sure if you know, but to this day I've barely held a golf club, let alone played a full round. Unfortunately, not all of our tests were restricted to the boarding, and often myself, Jason Obey, and Keegan Rass found ourselves locked outside Mrs. Lown's science class, having arrived late, with or without a note. We learned very quickly that actions have consequences. One of the most challenging aspects of being a boy is understanding that you can't do everything on your own. And in learning this, I've generated an almost endless list of thanks. From the kitchen staff who keep us fed, to the ground staff who ensure we're always ready for game day, and sick bay, the mothers of the college. Thank you. The college couldn't function without your dedication. To the tricks. Gentlemen, thank you for 5 years of non-stop banter. From the creative ways you found to sleep in the exam sessions, to those long practices when it was 4 o'clock and all you needed was a laugh to keep you going. It's been an amazing 5 years with you all. I look forward to the next 5 and seeing what you make of the world. Before me sit the future doctors, accountants, entrepreneurs, engineers, professional cricketers, and maybe 1 or 2 teachers and border masters. While that might scare some, I feel secure in knowing that the future problem solvers of our turbulent world are some of the most genuine and trustworthy people I've ever met, who are never afraid to laugh in the face of adversity and always have your back when it comes down to it. Teachers are often on the front line, and there's no doubt that St. Charles' one-of-a-kind nature is due quite largely to its one-of-a-kind teaching staff. Often, it is the small interactions day to day that make the greatest impact on the boys, and especially the prefects. The importance of having role models such as yourself around us every day is instrumental in producing the perfect Saints boy. This is Thor, whose tireless work in the front office ensures the boarders always get to where they need to go safely, and always greets with a smile. Ma'am, many times this year I've made an excuse to walk into the office, just to walk out in a better mood. Mr. Holcomb, there's no doubt that you're one of the most passionate members of staff at the college. Throughout this year, you've built my confidence in carrying out my role and encouraged me to back myself when it mattered most. You're tireless in ensuring the best possible future for us, and your influence over myself and the Trick boys will never be forgotten. Mrs. Pillay, you understand boys better than they understand themselves. Throughout this year, you have been the voice of encouragement to both myself and the prefects, and have ensured that I never went into a meeting feeling alone. Thank you for everything you have done for the matrics this year. We're all your sons, and deep down, we know you love us. I'm sure this is why no matric boy has ever done detention for outstanding maths homework. I doubt we would have made it through the years without the constant support of staff and many more. This year I've been privileged to feel I was surrounded by a team, all working towards bettering the college and its pupils. In the sports department, I thank Mr. Irons and his team. Over my years at the college, I've watched St. Charles grow from strength to strength on the sports field. It is your hard work which allows us to compete against top-tier schools, and we're now more often than not the best at what we do. Mr. Riley, from the first tour around the college, I knew this was a school for me. Had not been for that walk around 8 years ago, I never would have been able to grow from the nervous grade 5 I was to the young man I am today. Mr. Van Vlok, thank you for the privilege of watching you work this year, sir. From you I've learned that often the solution to a problem lies somewhere in between what everyone else's preferred outcome would be and what you know to be best for the college. I know that one day I'll be able to put what I've learned this year to good use. Thank you for pushing St. Charles to where it is, a point to which being the leading independent school for boys in Africa is a reality, and a school which you can find the perfect balance between academics, sports, and culture. My deputies, Samukele, JJ, Reid, and Guy. Thank you for the support you've given me this year and the faith you've had in me. Thank you for the privilege of working by your side and that each of you was willing to drop anything in order to help me when I most needed it. To the prefects, it's not an easy job, but I thank you for your dedication, for staying strong till the end and helping us leave our mark on the college. To my family, I wouldn't be standing here today if it wasn't for you. Dad, St. Charles runs in my blood because of you. It has always been a part of my life, long before I entered the gates for the first time. Sleeping in your rugby jersey or wearing your cap on fishing trips, you saw in the college into me from the first day, and for this I'm incredibly grateful. You've always supported and guided my passions. I've learned from you to care about the small things that others don't recognize, because it's these things that will set you apart. You've always been the person to go to when I wasn't sure of myself, and you've guided me through this year with patience and understanding. You don't just went to sit and listen, and you're always able to make me see the opposite perspective. To my little sister Erin, thank you for always being so understanding. As I'm sure the matric boys know, I can be the most annoying person at times, but you managed to put up with me so far. And whenever we fight, you always ensure we make up. Wow. We were both so full of words, I found it hard to find what to say to you. You've always borne the brunt of my bad days, and I seldom hear about my good days. But you've always been there. Thank you for understanding when I need to get something off my chest. You're amazing. I couldn't have made it through boarding school without your constant support, the little things you do that make the most homesick days manageable, and everything you do in the background. To the boys of the college, I've often likened St. Charles to a family. Sometimes brothers fight, but at the end of the day, we always have each other's backs. I want the saying to move away from something we just think to being put in practice every day. If you look at your badge, what you should see is a promise. A promise you'll always be part of something, no matter where you are in the future. That you'll always be a Saints boy, and that you'll never be alone. You're privileged to be part of writing the history of the college, and what you leave behind you every day is your choice. Why waste the opportunity you have, which most often comes down to one season, one exam. In preparation for the speech, I looked through as many same magazines as I could get my hands on. What struck me paging through them is how much the school has changed over the years. How, as the school has grown, so the magazine has thickened. What do you want to be on the cover of your Saint? What do you want to be the logo of your year? And what will the St. Charles you leave behind me? Would it be one that you would send your son to? My message to you is to enjoy every moment, every second, because one day it's your first night on boarding, your first Old Boys Day, your first speech night. And before you know it, it's your final Old Boys Day, last day of high school, and your very own speech night. As we sit in this arena, I think it would be appropriate to quote beloved head boy Samukele from his speech 10 years ago. Nothing can stop us now. This has never been more true. St. Charles College is writing history books and redefining what people believe is possible for a school of 520 boys. We're no longer the underdogs or that small school from Pietermaritzburg that sometimes pulls off incredible wins. We compete on world stages. Where one brother wins, we all win, because you were the one who pushed them hard at practice. And where one brother bleeds, we all bleed. As our first team cricket and basketball proved, winning is a habit. I look forward to watching this habit grow. To play on our sports fields and walk our corridors is a privilege. It's your duty as the bearers of the badge to push the college from strength to strength. What will be your legacy? St. Charles College, 5 schools, 15 grades, 850 boys, 1 college, 1 journey. It's been an honor. Thank you.